What's going on, guys? My name is Victor, and today I'm back with another tutorial on After Effects, and this one is going to be covering the floating knife effect in Eminem's Godzilla music video. So here I've got this footage where I'm walking towards the camera and the camera is moving backwards and rotating at the same time. You don't have to film it like this, but I wanted to make it kind of like the music video, and also a shot with movement will make this look a little bit more dynamic because we're going to 3D track these knives into the scene. All right, open up your footage in After Effects and we're going to use the 3D camera tracker. After the tracker is done, you're going to go to Layer, New Solid, doesn't matter the color of the solid, and then go over to the Effects and Presets and find Element, drag that onto your new solid. I then trimmed up the solid to match the length of my clip. Locate Element in your effects controls and click on Scene Setup, and that's going to bring you to Element 3D. Now you can import your knife. I hit normalize size and then I fix the X orientation so that the knife is upright. All right, now it's time to add shaders to the knife, and on this knife there's 3 different places you can add shaders, and that is the blade, the handle, and then the studs on the handle. So I use 3 different shaders for the 3 different pieces of the knife. Now add an environment that matches the look of your footage. You can toggle the environment and adjust where the environment sits by holding Shift and then clicking and dragging. You can also change the light source as well to better match the scene. Now click OK in the top right hand corner to go back to After Effects. Now again, in the effects controls, under Element, go into the Group 1 settings. You're going to click the drop down arrow on the particle replicator. The first thing I did was boost the particle count. That's going to increase the amount of knives in your scene, and so I boosted mine to 35. After that, go down a little bit more to the replicator shape and change it to sphere. Now inside of replicator effects, increase the surface offset to spread out the knives. Now hit the drop down arrow for particle look. Under particle rotation, you can rotate the knives to your liking. I have it set like the Godzilla music video with the knives pointing at the subject. I boosted the surface offset again after I saw how it looked with the knives pointing at me. You'll more than likely have to make a few adjustments until you get a look that you're happy with. Now after playing back your clip, you'll realize that your knife layer is not 3D tracked into this space, and that's because we haven't added a camera yet. So go back to the original footage that we did the 3D camera tracker on and select Create Camera. Now take that new camera and move it under your knife layer, and your knives should now be 3D tracked into the scene. So right about now, you should be getting a better idea of how the scene's going to look, and so I decided that I wanted my knives a little bit bigger so they looked like they were closer to the camera. You can adjust the size of the knives by changing the particle look amount. So now you can make any other adjustments that you want. For example, you could change the distance the knives are from the camera or from the subject just by adjusting the Z position in the particle replicator. You could also make it look like your knives are slowly pushing in closer to your subject just by keyframing the surface offset. There's so many ways you can make this effect your own just by playing around with some of the settings in here and adding a few keyframes. So now you've probably noticed the problem. The knives that are supposed to be behind the subject are still visible, and that's because we're gonna have to duplicate this layer and then make some masks to make sure that those stay behind the subject. So duplicate your footage and move the duplication over the knife layer and mask out the knives that should be behind your subjects. Just be sure to turn on the mask keyframes and leave the mask mode on Add. All right, so now I'm just gonna go over a couple ways that you can make your knives look a little bit more real and like they're actually a part of this scene. If you go down to the render settings and the effects controls of Element, and then you enable ambient occlusion, that's going to make it look a little bit more real. And then you can play with the screen space ambient occlusion amount, that's the SSAO abbreviation. Basically, that's gonna add a little bit of shading to your knives. Now this one I think is very important, especially if you're having movement in your shot, is turning on the motion blur on your knife layer. The motion blur will make it look way more natural and way more believable. All right, now for some optional things that you can do. All right, go back to your scene setup on Element 3D, and one of the things you can do is boost the illumination, and you can see that the knife can either get brighter or darker. That will help you match it better to your specific footage. And something similar you can do is go to the environment multiplier and boost or lower that, and that will change the overall look of the reflection and coloring that is on your knife from your environment. Alright guys, that's how you do the floating knife effect from Eminem's Godzilla music video. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave me a thumbs up, comment what you thought down below, and most importantly, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos that I post. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you in the next one.